Blackness is a waste of the world. The beginning of ecological destruction is only possible through the terrorization of black bodies to the United States, resulting in the process of dehumanization. The active parent declaring your land by the hands of enslaved persons, the genociding of indigenous states and new with black blood, sweat, and tears. Global warming cannot be the tap from large responsibilities to the humanity by the manifestation. And something empire required declaring a living being to lay a foundation for imperial conquest. To prove that the top discussing greenhouse gas require analytic that presupposes the concept of slavery colonization is the base point for my mental justice. Freedom to hate the concept of waste, nothing was disposable to them. I practically traveled back in time by doing the fittings. They told me that I'm not here to tell you that it will be okay, the world's ending, nothing will ever be the same. Question whether that's the bad thing, whose world is ending. The year 2025, Trump made the world infinitely worse than Army was executive, or like rolling back DEI, double colonizing the Gulf of Mexico, green light, deportation, ending birth rights, citizenship, crapping terror that were creating nationwide poverty, green light, artificially betting gender categories outside the male female binary, grading and pulling out the marriage board in the WHO, classing the Lincoln Riley Act, another form of the anti-migrant policy, reinstating the chokehold, and no knock more marriage for no knock more ban for the police and any mandate for electric vehicle while declaring national emergency and energy, declaring any Mexican cartel terrorist organization, pardoning every January 2nd insurrection, administering alongside law, Ross Hoover, and Ali P. Hess, no vice versa, and threats, secretary along unfashioned member, the other form of colonial violence, proven in politics normal, is just not cutting it anymore. Then, well, I tell you it's not going to be okay, I'm not going to win. Trump takes the office, you'll find like outcome probable for either the re-election of impeach or ex-American authority, including felon sexual abuser for Black America, inauguration page 25, latest bill the white American forces swallow. And unfortunately, Phoenix is no longer here. I'm not here to tell you that it will be okay. In fact, I'm here to tell you that the apocalypse has already happened. It's going to happen again. And in fact, it's already begun. There are many people who are already over there, but the nature of environmentalists are fighting to protect our society for the income color marshals. So many have already faced the market of the same. Your average conflict to Africa. And global warming now result in individualized consumption rather than the effects of slavery grip on the universe. The ending world is left behind sacrifice zone that really destruction environment was at stage for mass extinction. Therefore, the topic focusing on market great illusion, nor is the fact that carbon cannot be forgotten with the emission reduction carbonization by the county. No, there's all these same performance, so we now have a 50 reality of billion boxes book on the current intent. Do not mention that leave the world to have it put in the loser. Express is blended. And the market never really won the black life, rather won the black death life. I'm not here to say it will be okay. Where's the spirit of the cross sector do the impact education income? Both in every sector and independent every sector they get black and produce opportunity for whites in business and competition alone the process of this sentiment of black development and social hierarchy the raise position of white society. And the call to debate over price mechanisms are really in a hegemonic kind of politics that weaponize expertise language create ideological propaganda that upholds the capital order and expense of the environment and those most affected. That's combined with positive carbon hegemonic kind of politics within capitalism organization institution with expert links to ideological propaganda the main solution of the time in market other time in the market-based mechanism that price change our obstacle war making publication myths that current pricing rates are low, meaning it's not work, and then other capital mining, construction, timber, production, production activity, and solution, precision, talk from forestry, commodity, energy, protein, farming, forestry, story, hidden, another time, policy, activity, capitalism, produce, economic company, not home, problems, with competition, consumers, will be thoughtful, ideology, versus talent, individual capital, versus employee, globals, have been chosen, and then recovery, of the creative, defense, competition, capital, ideology, defended. And that's what environmentalists warn of the incoming climate crisis. As if the climate crisis has not been here for decades. As the suburb gets access to air conditioning and home by the beachside, black and brown life, and those in the hood are forced to cling onto their fans and play. As long as 2,300 people alone died from heat strokes alone, the world is already ended. In fact, it's ended multiple times for black and brown life. The domino effect of southern colonialism, anti-black and rich capitalism is responsible for the modern day effects of the climate crisis. As the apocalypse already happened, Columbus, the world learns to end. So we're trying Columbus to kidnap villagers and estrogen up into the slaves and trail. In a small town, let's get an ancient orange and Hiroshima, the Holocaust, and for the guns, Hitler, ice camp, COVID-19, and we'll see seven world never to the recovery cycle of the neighboring economy. People know exactly what's coming, even have a little responsibility for causing. And as Phoenix just tell me, there's no such thing as wasted. Everything is always interconnected, just as sand is interconnected to beaches, and the sky is connected to every breath we take. Therefore, the only reason why the concept of waste exists in the first place is because local is more valuable than others. And those certified crackers care more about their backyard than they do about black people. I'm not here saying that it'll be okay. We do not have to play the collective for protection of white environmentalists care more about market people, color minority outside the environment have. Because type of pollution as a next to the waste is already polluted, and we need to keep in that area the waste to be directed towards them so the environment is not safe for safety, segregation, community, like ocean, media, by power, the waste to be traditional. White environmentalism for like the environment is where I created the environment for the which must like make the environment afraid of the missile virus, reality, environmental have mental challenging waste disposal, but the black crash of white politics. I'm not here to tell you that it will be okay. White nation didn't make all the haven't made all the decision of this to the point of the chaos is the culmination of generations of recognition of my politics. Competition movement that will realize the world and the world and so many for losing on the world we are affluence too. When it came to Phoenix, there was no mistake our love for each other, never a moment of lost love or touch, but only memory that can capture the audience of a million eyes. Phoenix and the world was the end of my world. I'm not here to tell you that you'll be okay, but it's not be all for nothing. These broken words, these broken words that I was directly imagine. You know, the consequences of picking on ending to regard I'm getting to the end of the environment in the first place. And what the end was just what we needed, what the end was not demand. It's not a request or demand, but an invitation to the new world as the ashes of the old one can capitalize as mentioned. Some thought they would never see. This means that this world is disconnected, but the new world will be interconnected. A world that people have wanted, a world they will have died for. See, I live in the apocalypse when I lost Phoenix, but their soul lives on. Those forces see the radical vision if you do for the survivors, with the conversation, able to decisions, not addresses, properly. Actually, Who is missing? If this world cannot be repaired, then our only option is to build a new one out of the ashes. See, I'm not okay, and that was hard to accept, but maybe not being okay is okay, and maybe that dream of time travel after all. Thus, we affirm the Phoenix Force and the temporal destruction of ecological social relations. The Phoenix Force can make the past, present, and the future. With knowledge effects will have the time to apply. And this form of time travel remembering the past, while we aim for the future, transforming us slots gives us the time, scooting down the block in the late night, holding hands to our favorite movies, not because my sensory issue needed, because my heart ached without it, kisses all over the face, laughing until our stomachs hurt. This work you give me when I say something silly or a smile, you cannot contain your happiness, drowning into the present, playing that funky fresh DJ jam, like the sounds of blackness, that 54 staring at me with those fire-colored eyes that hold the power of a million suns, make our souls tied interconnectedly, just how trees are tied to leaves, interconnected, creates a vibrant material, the missing African, the massive world, the individual collective her political consciousness was saying and seeking to induce some issues with personality contagion. For Africans, like around the music of African, that's where I'm talking about the African civilization. And it's time to go back, way back. Lots more the hard to reclaim, but it's definitely not impossible. But to get there, we need a vehicle, right? I got the keys to the whip, but will you hop in? After a feature, look out to the Jackson for hip hop. From the religion, the freedom transformation escape, and its purpose is cinematic support for policy, purpose with its strength to go warming, nuclear warning, economic class, and African society, and then after these songs, they do the diversity of African music, and play those jams that bring it back to the past, those moments of love in the dark space, reform the world that formed the basis for tomorrow. I'm not here to tell you that it will be okay, but this is what Phoenix will wanted, and even when things look bleak, even when our world may be over, the Phoenix Force will always make a new. Phoenix heaven down the world, and with the time we go, the American president, no longer forward, to the umbrella clean space, and this is the different sides of the dead space, with the time we need darker, I can take over the conflict world, and Phoenix love to dance, groove in London, beatbox in Cameroon, robotics in the ocean, groove like the ocean, playing them internet jams and the sounds of blackness. They try to tell us what we couldn't be. I told them they did not know us. We would ditch the boring heteronormative world to make our own story because we don't care what people thought. And damn sure cannot stop the funk, and they damn sure cannot stop the connection. I am not here to tell you that it will be okay. This form of quantum mechanics, everything clear, but they think of quantum coherence, the only speech which is any of this separation with radio killing. We have those inside orbits. And for those trapped in white fraternity, hope is not lost to liberation culling, but it's only when we reach the end. Our actions with each other have consequences for all this planet, social media, company, comrade, climate, TV, African, social, apartheid, the need to understand past man, the impact of Britain, and everything. But they do the past, which I've done, really delivering for African and end of the rescue the world. And the end of the world already happened, but maybe not the end of the world is no bad thing. Maybe it's not what we needed. Maybe not so serious after all. Maybe it's this hope that can save the world. This rather hope that can really make you climate blue and climate blue. I don't really know what we're climate air not into brother where we can build the world better every time we're pandemic, hurricane, don't reveal truth and the evil that is now ending about the end of race, sex, and the race, no corruption, equality, and apartheid. And blackness is waste, but another person's trash is always another person's treasure. Out of the ashes, we turn waste into space. As Chicago, we're going to turn for Parkinson's, like to Chicago for survival, this is really taking like his life. And without working to your pockets now teach that it's imperative to turn to the inward to the outward. The action will become whole again. It's only possible we turn the individual into the collective. Evidence by how many times I help find the LPS, CIO, machines, the organized sales, to them. We have to what's on behalf of the environment. This is one of the Filipino mind. We send everything we do every two organic communities. We have to about how many racial equality, empowering community solidarity. And those intimate spaces of care since stage laid foundation for the new world out of the ashes of the old one. See, this is not a political call for action. One that cannot separate African from the struggle against greenhouse gases and corporations that seek black flesh. We form other government to what the answers in climate. Environment activists who are the need or that the world for the world supposed to be like exporting mobilized for the aggravated something that doesn't take a more to everything before. And every time there's a call for just because the climate dead is dogmas for truly anti-racism and more. So when the world is ending and they tell you that you actually show the panel whose world is ending, this is given African president, African president, or going to have to be end the world room. It may be frustrating to hear the world ending, maybe we'll run, maybe we'll hide, maybe we'll tend to stop what's up, but I'm not here to tell you okay. It's not also regional to corporate over some of like more than number than people when I'm like really and this ideological transformation of black race into spaces, a black race for art about on the black argumentation for me about black behavior, the hostile needs was the other. So I simply give one space to secure again also more than the for the most black representation and the encouraging free debated the history of the black for equal constitution, even the most debated around the education ability. These are my time for arguments on the friend will be on the activity of function and cut the card at function and our activity topic we really browse getting support and support for business model growth. That's been about telling you that you want to do more stuff. You have to improve that I like the president having implemented part of the based on the finally nominated arguing again like you top is not started even further than talking to regularly core the topic.
Where is that part?
Core the topic.
Gotcha.
The two-way sequence probably it's not that one.
Yeah. Okay. Are you for top 6?
Yeah.
Wait. What does the 1AC bring back from the past and how does it accomplish that?
The 1AC brings back from the past the idea that nothing is ever waste, i.e. our argument is that this transformation of waste, which is created by certified crackers, are a sort of like symptomatic understanding of blackness as always need to be disposed of in order to maintain white fraternity. Our argument is that understanding that premise and changing it and bringing that understanding to the future in the collapse of the new world is key to create better affective tonalities when we engage with the
How does that change that premise? What does it replace it with?
Yeah, sure. So it replaces the idea that there is almost literally nothing that is wasteful, i.e. everything is useful in some context, but it's dependent on how we utilize it and what we use it for. Our argument is that the reason why climate change exists is because people see blackness as waste, which will allow for disposability politics to happen to maintain white futurities that causes infinite ending of worlds. We think that's bad. We think the app solves it.
How and why did you choose the songs that were played during the 1AC?
Especially this one because the Sounds of Blackness is a group that organizes like choirs. They talk about the sort of remembrance of Africa and blackness, which we think is good, especially on Black History Month.
Why is it good to play that in the debate space?
Yeah, sure. Because one, we've read evidence that sonics create affective tonalities that interconnect people together, i.e. vibration materials are sort of things that can bring people together, and we think that creates the ability for people to mobilize. We think that is uniquely good.
What clean energy policies does the 1AC endorse?
The 1AC disrupts ecological social relations, which are sort of the premise behind clean energy policies.
Does it result in enacting any new clean energy policies?
We don't fiat anything.
Okay.
It's about the panel votes after the method of place.
Okay. How does that method
fake? Huh?
How does that method achieve decarbonization?
Yeah, because our argument is that understanding and transforming the idea of waste in space is what allows us to create better connection, not only to the environment, but to people of color as well.
I understand how it changes our relationship to waste in space. How does that remove fossil fuels, BP, Exxon?
Well, our argument is that the 1AC is not vote after remove carbon fossil fuels.
Yeah, but how does your method try to
sure. So we're talking about the meta of the method, right? Our argument is that understanding the fossil fuel regime has to be first enacted by an understanding of racial capitalism.
But once we understand it, what do we do about it?
Well, our argument is that the world is ending, and there's nothing we can do about it. But our argument is that when the new world comes, which it will, our argument is that we have to implement these things in the new world.
What are these things?
What do you mean?
How do people get energy?
The 1AC cross-sec stuff when we talked about the new world being key to transform wasted space, that argument would substantiate the claim that when the new world happens, we won't have to worry about things like sexism, racism, gender equality, because we've transformed the logics that create those things in the first place.
But what kind of energy do people use? Do they use fossil fuels, renewables, nuclear, geothermal?
Well, I mean, I don't think, we don't have to take a stance.
No prescription on that? Okay. Under your radical stasis model, what burden does the app have to meet to prove that they're topical?
They have to engage the topic through its core understanding and unmask.
What is the core understanding of this topic?
Yeah, sure. So it's about climate change.
Okay, you just said that doesn't change the energy mix.
Well, yeah. So the Smith evidence does not say I have to fiat something. It's about method.
But your method doesn't change the energy mix. We just established.
No, it doesn't. It does. It doesn't.
Wait,
no, it doesn't. It's different. Changing energy regimes and making new energy are two different things.
It's too off in case.
Let me just get hints and stuff.
Yeah, so do that.
Where do people? Oh, what's up? There's two here.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I have sufficient.
I think you're good.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna download it. Once I have it, I'll be good.
Got it.
All my G2s are on their last life. This is insane.
If you need more.
Yeah.
I got like 3 left. I'll be chilling.
Okay.
You need a pen?
I don't know.
1 second.
We're gonna strategically go so fast they all just die.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm capable of doing that.
I'm not gonna lie. If you go 40 words per second, I think all my G2s are gone.
40 words a second.
Is that physically possible?
Just wait.
You can try. Okay. I'm good.
Alright, anyone not? First off, the counterpart the act is to remove fossil fuel production subsidies and a substantial carbon price funnel. The revenue generation initiative towards the public-private partnerships is economically disadvantaged communities for the purpose of furthering local agriculture, community renewable energy, public transportation, education, and healthcare. It is necessary to redeem market-based approaches to climate justice in order to stay about potential. Throughout racial, economic, and environmental justice are mutually interdependent and require urgent policy intervention. Culture 21. President of public-private partnerships, regenerative agriculture, disadvantaged communities, low cost, no social accessible public transport, healthcare, education, and training for the reason for removal of the carbon pricing could. No revenue innovation as a green and equitable community. Or designs like operas focus on climate and fostering local government, increasing growth, common with social racial justice, whilst reducing net supporting inclusive prosperity are mutually independent. Even if it's independent public agricultural threats, markets offer important markets provide. Let's go over to global healthy economy workers. We're going to go to collection of pounds without markets at the price. Limited distribute proceeds equitably. The time is now. Do you access public origin and fossil fuel subsidies that can be based on their refusal of state intervention and demonstrate the utility of topical debates? Fossil fuel companies use subsidies to perpetuate violence against black and indigenous women. The codified divest from extractive industries and necessity to combat institutionalized oppression and grapple. It's one of the abuses of women is well known in history and tells you a lot about what's happening on Earth, let on our brave, nimble, elder, and rock too. There's a legacy of violence against indigenous women. So today we need to talk about indigenous women race. We're about 10 times the national average extractive industries like fossil fuels and some of the worst approach to factors of violence against indigenous women. They're getting affluxes, transit workers, and makeups. New insurance and rates up. So all makers, like the most indigenous women data is often reported and currently collected almost where companies expand. Improper violence against women is written and arrest not at a time to protect social go to. Quarters and awards of the time of investment rejection and fossil fuels is a model. Next up, fossil fuel extraction drives climate change. Racial injustice creates sacrifice zones and enable pollution and disposability. Policy solutions are necessary practices in the form of moral local violence for autonomy. 23 fossil fuels are harder and inherent crisis and climate racial injustice. Yet health sacrifice zones are so deeply intertwined with the fossil based economy system regards to the hopes of the fossil industry by able to externalize cost pollution and environmental degradation on the communities of color. This brings us to political because of the system structures. We're putting the protection of fossils over this time. Conversation fossil fuels and focus sterile energy to reduction fuel. New emphasize law. No compromise to pays out of fossil fuel production and exploitation of the fossil fuel reason for political policy solutions to stop the power and actions of the fossil industry and their state allies. And removing fossil subsidies of fuels broad abolitionist movements and 10% of the country. Companies want to break their debt fossil subsidies application less than creating a producer from the capital holding and shift. The difference of company support movements or now trying to create more ones on the side will be critical for what the social movements when in the future discussing the demand for any social fossil industry become important and make sure those holding the subsidy and generated by public support. Then what the two differently first. Less important funding and allowing some publicly loaded men that can by the public sector for fossil as an issue that can govern as a holding. The new police leaders with the idea that taxpayer money was being wasted on something that they don't believe in as activists. Focus on increasing attention to the issue of opportunities for new reason and inquiries into the issue becoming public otherwise. In addition to being in a bit with part-time, with part-time is also one of the radical application industries that are also without subsidy by between the animals and war for the fossil industry. The campaign shows an important pathway to bigger climate city clip as the whole system starts to move. Next off is topicality. The United States federal government is the three branches of the DC Dictionary of Government Politics. 90th, the United States federal government Washington DC, the formal legislative executive, and judiciary. Adopt parties legislation. Pay 90th, determined adopting the Constitution recommends general assembly adopt. Notice the general assembly should determine adopt required legislation. Market-based instruments encourage pollution control via pricing. No statement 78. Temperature market control, rights control. The main three branches of the control and produce social decentralized. Encouragement and individual energy pollution control. Vote negative for predictable limits. Abound in topic services. Predictable states point for debate and preparation. Absent defined limits, competitive incentives create a race in the margin that makes predicting carbon strategies impossible. Some form of argumentative solution is inevitable as the resolution occurs. It's key to making sure it occurs along evil lines. It's only internally with ballot proximity because everything else relies on non-falsifiable predictions. About the effects of debate and subjectivity, every value to debate relies on what we're wonder. 3 impacts. 1. Fairness. Debate is a competition. We wake up early, flip for size, 2. Perhaps we build a technical sessions, break new cases and shock. Ensure our proper desire to win. Everyone expects fair education. If their model or affirmative recluse winners, you should reject it to reserve everyone plus benefit to debate. 2. Clash and advocacy. Switching sides of bingo, one preferred opponent or key to research and advocacy. The successful deployment of the money requires exposure to opposition that cultivates our alignment and activism. 3. Testability debate inherently judges relative truth value, but whether or not a guessing answer a combination of a less predictable case and the programmers winner and them. Starting against future will always inflate the value of their impacts with fiction on arbitrarily weighing whether they should have grounded when they see in the by first possible. A turns case, anti-migrant sentiment, the reduction of discursive border violence and other regimes of mural violence are all tied to fossil fuel extraction, but instrumental understandings of the resolution carry radical possibilities for change. Shall point you in contrast to exclusion of future mobility access, the cover multi-dimensional policy approach characterizes those of play on God, the competence places for possible extraction focuses attention and capacity to high THG emitters to repay loss and damage. We are not all equally responsible for the world with high energy life cycle excess carbon emission benefit pro military existence and investment measure climate displays and impacts of hydrocarbon the pollution to climate risk local vulnerabilities fall upon carbon colonies for reason by fossil fuel the way of life is little with that produces balance of the border carbon taxing towards a green climate funding climate liability centers and climate reparations are all solvent TVAs that meet our accreditation reparations in particular challenge structural systems of violence that citizenship that go beyond narrow fairness and climate justice shelter with mobility justice should focus on more legal fairness or these families that be taken first responsibility for reducing the requirements to recompensate the companies on a legal basis for holding the US and corporations accountable for reception number is going to be handled through green climate second litigation loss and independence against made fossil companies searching oil companies for reparations for those companies if they know that having carbon states pursuing legislation making companies provide the compensation through tax on how much carbon is embedded lastly carbon reparation based on system colonial racial capitalism and solution of black representatives of people from the whole citizen abolition of climate justice sort of environmental reasons beyond climate habitat to restore reference repair the return of social reparations. The case 1. The AFF cannot solve any impact in debate about for them does not reshape research practices or the debate community. It's only a judgment on who the debater debating. Vote AFF because the one you see is a good idea is not responsive to this argument. The one you see's affirmation of Phoenix Force cannot meaningfully shape subjectivity because the one you see is ultimately reliant on framework as a norm for its basis in politics. B. Outside the debate. They've isolated very material impacts like all the messed up things Trump has done at the start of his administration. The AFF expressly granted us that they are not affirming the political strategy to challenge action in politics because they are energy agnostic. 2. AFF act alone cannot motivate social change or cultivate radical civil spark 23. The reason I'm went over whole day. The other person who was over with affective resonance of their many points of this argument we can assess that's right. These are psychological evidence debate so far. Never there is questionable and the affect theories must try biological psychological versus evidence of application lower rate of how decision are most never reaction to evidence fact criteria looking to use about the interior is like sometimes not a lot of action but in against the interior no matter how constantly usable criteria for whether someone with the thing that was making interest and attention on a socially never is also use affect never social effect rather than a result of human biology. 3. Climate change is a collective action emergency advanced systemic collective organization and controls uniqueness for case impacts so solid 24. Climate change is a political property accidental ontological sense environmental function should be understood as a responsibility and dignity of a common the world when no one is aware as to explain activism there. Climate anxiety is medical about global action governing anxiety when the first anxiety is enabling climate change and actions are experimental philosophical stuff like in the straight out of meeting. You've been being all-time lessons for shared culture by meetings. Improve stable to provide reference for individualized shared. Never to be trying to buy climate crisis. Never to look at the where the politics are among plural human beings. Aggressive action ensures politics to regenerate politics great. You must reach in action with other individual constitutional plurality. Politics never predetermined, but simply human. One of our single job foundation to base politics where reach in action and let us work out and get more short lifestyle rights movement makes it for and BLM can be seen as most of those politics what to live for, what to live for, and how to live within a most financial actually not under we should recognize activism of young people as a crucial to work through nihilism and trying to make sure we all continue to live meaningful lives. CSU said one cannot separate Afrofuturism from the struggle against corporations that see backlash and greenhouse gases. The examples they cited attached to this claim is about how a black activist achieved policy change via deep research that connects fracking and cancer. Mahoney, 24 natural gas projects are really causing permanent positive performance are reinstating current trajectory of growth and gas making it possible to slow rising temperature and sea levels. 2000 peer reviewed research for fracking and high rates of cancer. Black activists the hope of the temporary positive permanent energy sources that never land and destroying the national environment positive one of our communities that knowledge and urgent need to protect their rights. Also, project Louisiana environmental justice work is far from over. 4. Iteration demonstrates the indeterminacy of law and that exposes its foundational violence in favor of achieving justice. Prefer a strategy of contingency that counteracts racialization in favor of universalizing access for migrant trees. Moving forward, laws and ordinances such as separate interest will be a mechanism for emancipation laws and indeterminate. Nobody knows what emissions such as the office of limited rights. Nobody knows horizons for justice. Litigation of projects with important possible to be law. Not going to previously determine Nigerian citizens living in the UK. Serve deportation to be a appeal to human rights down. Human rights to not be deported to the refugee. So the thing is that deportation movement just improve the law, promoting the assumption of jurisprudential. The issue of the person opposite of the present public has understand law as they will want to rules plain case. That's what we can settle what has been settled will become unsettled review can be unsettled officer rejection. Rights are not damaged because they are practice as they started. The constructive understanding foundation law contingency law can be transformed. Strategic use of legal rights is key to mitigate violence, increase public awareness, and secure incremental non-reformist reforms. They provide the only viable path towards abolition. Roberts 19. Some view the entire U.S. legal system as warning that black people there no good reason to engage in abolition, constitutional laws, and prison laws have a long-term project involving incremental independent state action roads. Prison abolition objects now none of the sentimental process that only means it's not an end person. Abolition by usually leaves the constitution to make first choice of orphans or change to achieve. Non-reformist abolition of reforms that no mode when it gets the suffering pay as a starting with abolition of action. The call for the right terms of legal pigs for the interpretation of constitution, also the constitution, legal ideological reform have this partially of every person could be paid. Held as every person to be a very constitutional, held like a person of the federal court, for the person rights movement that relied on supports also for the activist mobilized on person as everybody would not reject using constitutional federal system, finds the due process also that place social market from cherries of violence, the 6th Amendment of use of legal order to win, release or change cultural condition of migrant justice as war, short emancipation, non-reform reform, increase the possible clear freedom, non-reform reform, and please stop members passing the limited requirement for money bail, repeal harsh mandatory minimums, and the criminal structure of reparation order is passed by Chicago activists would have actually mentioned including monetary compensation, tuition-free education. The disposability of blackness does not justify retreat from state politics, especially in an area of Trump's pillars. 18. We might use come by national toward like Trump this about posture of near favorable forces. Intellectual solution which induces conservative political theory, where we request exploitation is here to the culture, knowledge, and intellectual technology. I university reflection of different historical positionality that has any usefulness. Universe that theories that opening the flash option against the opening ends of that necessary rather than last war to hold. The flash option that actual channel or poverty face up purpose about the not losing because when we will do black personality because the latter was the internal problem of the future of blackness on the past is fair to be murdered and how that is conceptual with an actual that always existed to black voters not rather than murder person alongside the future of black people do know. You get a what is simply never person that never believed violence actually bad faith the fear of the cast of the world and because of and suffrages and actors are nature for present treason this applies to the rebel was that the US and the world we are faced with actual possibility that one for diversity with labor world is positive from the end.
Good?
Yep.
Status of the AFF.
The counterplan is an example of debate that can occur under our model framework.
What does that mean?
What do you mean? What is it?
Can you kick it?
Not really.
So you're going for the counterplan as fiated, correct?
Well, we're going for the counterplan as something that can be an example.
Can you kick the advocacy on the counterplan?
I just answered this question.
No, you're not, because you're saying me like it's a floating TV. I'm asking you like.
It's not really floating.
It's not really floating because I just said it's a TV.
Okay, I'm gonna assume that it's going to be on the T page and you can't go for it absent framework, right?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
So that's
what are reparations?
What are reparations? In the context of evidence we've read, it involves distributing like money.
Are communities involved in this process?
Well, they're the ones receiving money, so they're.
Wait, but are they involved in the negotiating process?
The argument is that if a climate like tax fund were to be channeled to like for reparations, then that would be good. So
no, but you're not answering my question. Like, do they get to be like consulted like reparations?
Yeah, they're consulted on how the money is spent. They have unilateral discretion to spend it on whatever social systems.
So what if black people don't want money? What if they want something else?
Well, it doesn't Gene's answer that right?
I don't think it does.
Because they have
discretion. What do you mean by something else?
Like, so what if black people say, I don't want money, I want like housing, I want something else that's not monetary?
We just described that they have discretion over this. Also,
like okay, that's all I need to know. That's fine. I want to talk about the the affect stuff, I guess. Actually, I want to talk about the example that you cited. That was our example. I'm confused for how this
Sorry,
Mahoney
you
evidence.
mean like Mahoney?
Yeah, I'm confused for how this Mahoney evidence can be examples of the negative when this card Command F does not say policy anywhere.
What?
Where does the card say policy?
It's talking about policy.
Oh, yeah. Can you point me on
natural gas projects currently paused in the permitting process.
Where do they say that was done through policy means?
It's a permitting pause. That is a pause.
But I'm confused between the internal link between having black people engage in policy and the resulting of like the natural gas corporation shutting down. Like, why is policy making in this space uniquely key to actualize this thing?
So this is different than the former question, correct?
No, I think it's quite literally the same. Like, why is this an example of policy making as
Because
opposed to
it is an example.
on the ground?
It is an example of how some of the movements you've cited have cited a permitting pause as a contingent win.
But okay, that proves like it's probably absolute. That's fine. I want to ask about this road. I want to
not
use.
incommensurate with it.
I don't think that's true. I want to talk about the market's good stuff. What is the warrant for such?
Markets are not inherently tied to capitalism is the main claim.
That's not. It's a claim. What's the warrant for this argument?
Well, that is the warrant for markets.
You made a claim. You said markets are not
the claim
tied
for
to
it is that
capitalism. What is the claim for it?
the second level warrant to it in the block. We can read a card.
Block? I'm asking now.
That is the warrant for the claim. If you want us to
No, I want the claim actually.
So private intermediary regulators can exist in any sort of political economic system because people and not the state can manage the grid.
People, not the state?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. That's all I need. You need bread?
Yeah. 947.
You said 947.
Yep.
Gotcha. I was shutting that down.
Makes sense to me too.
Yeah, I'm just getting the cards right now. It's just a case, the counterplan, and then.
Is it dark sun?
Not yet. I'm just getting the cards.
I'm sure a professional editor.
Yeah, take that.
Yeah, so let me know when you're ready. Let me know when you're done.
We're good.
Good. Trip.
Yeah, I missed the order or forgot it.
Oh, yeah, you're good. No worries. The order is case, counterplan, frame.
Right.
But yeah. Sorry, 1 second.
What's up?
My bad. 1 second. I'm just trying to.
That's just send it to me. That's fine.
Yeah. Alright, there we go. Alright,
Again, like so many others from genocide and slavery, the impact is anti-black racial colony capitalism and the cause of warming. Their market logic and controls and exploits the environment, leading to anti-black extinction. Thus, Hudson go bond, vote after doors, and after future see the Phoenix Horse, number one disruption, ecological social relations, whose time traveling business and business past world to inform solutions to reshape environmental relations that shall and now solid standardized environments and movements like Minnesota with the Long Beach Community Improvement League to tackle poverty, Chicago, organizers using campus to mutual aid in park spaces and black ecologies to resist policing and jazz in Louisiana, inspiring protests to oil corporations, motivating a future protests over the year through non-state-based strategies as reason. A run amount of money to Trip and David Currier roles as white people on Black History Month as well. For whoever did the better debating to refuse a large disposability against black people in any instance, and we wouldn't wake as and dishonor black people during Black History Month and voting out as gender because it creates an indebtedness towards the black article tradition that historically generates activism like the AFF calling this a self-serving arbitrary or unpredictable links back to them because everything is subjective. Now on case presumption is an anti-black argument that justifies the status quo disposability against black and brown people reject the scheme and you vote out is good idea enough we actualize because if you got a fake which means it's just a question of the method 3 the ballot is good. It creates a counter model debate that solves and creates a training ground for radical skills. Now I'll finish the card on the card Curtis that read a balance of institutional power and spider around readings and like Louisville Tolson Emporium negative ground for radical states more reading across the academy the types of arguments that always engage your case which kind of methods arguments manage by preparing broadly and get more specific as you recurse these and genres are because they read the cultural assumptions this is a feature not above. Now case property it does solve our impact files are good done above outside of debate work is wrong because what happens in here spells outside out there more and framework and affect is good and solves it and because drop that sonics are a key component to access solvency how music is uniquely key which answers to Martin 13 evidence and affect not being able to solve material things we create a collective resistance that was the overview means uniqueness Phillips Afghan and endorsing sonics is a good method you should prioritize the emergency of anti-blackness which explains their impacts better and solves the Octas 24 evidence yes but their yes we saw but their model still engages in it which was above because bottom up activism is key which answers the re-highlighting of the money 24 evidence legal rights and non-reformist reforms are all bad because it's under the state because it's all bad it's impossible now which was done above and answers the Roberts evidence because state abolition remains in elite capturing AOC saying abolish ISIS supporting genocide in Gaza and deportation yes disposability of blackness justify retreat of blackness and all of the examples I gave of answering the Spillers evidence because the hieroglyphics of flesh are definitely a compromise in a sharp error which Spillers would agree with the counterplay. Congress' reason to reject the team for white flexibility, making conditional commitments, is a voting issue that causes fungibility of black lives, or the authors they outside which proves the general dishonor impact that they will dispose of black people whenever it's useful to them. Too, Perfcon is a voting issue that causes white fluidity of violence and engages of leasing, like it dispose of black and brown people whenever it's useful for them to go. For it as a TV, not an advocacy. Now the counterplan proper one proves the counterplan the winning season. A coalition should do it instead. We have never said the state was bad. Reject uncompetitive counterplans. 2 terms to each test of competition, not a negative argument. Just proves the TVA is bad. 3 plan flaw. A fascist compromise dissenter. Activism stops at anti-cracking, which waters down politics. Once people do it, the world is still filled with carceral structures that makes blackness as ways which, because the world is still white supremacists as police are still shooting black people, be it decommissioning sites are still placed in East LA and places like Huntington Park and Wilmington, which keeps black people and sacrifice zones where abandoned. No, will also cause health effects and violence because they never specified where it happened. See Trump, LG, boom, drill, baby, drill, national climate emergency, all text policy, which turns and they're all other offense for anti-immigrant assessment, but either way it doesn't solve black disposability. D does not specify how much is given done for reparations, which means it gives 1 penny, no takes back. It doesn't solve anything because sandbag, time skew, and late breaking debates. You don't know how the counterplan solves. Now reject any block recontextualization, which also answers the reparations argument because assuming that the black and brown people can be paid off endorses corruptivism. Board turning carbon pricing is a false solution. The climate change as essentially is greenwashing, global racial capitalism, and dissension and association of global south. Now, 23 carbon pricing are false solutions. The climate change, greenwashing, trust is a solution to polluters. By the way, adding carbon emissions is allowed to bring polluters pollute even more. Low capitalist companies false solutions, government emissions, and greenhouse gases through market-based solutions, carbon tax weighted, scare off oil and gas production because they be able to enter carbon trading programs such as buy out carbon credits to achieve net zero carbon emissions, meaning and they wouldn't really cut emissions at all. They just people are against carbon markets and carbon trading programs and projects which are schemes that help polluters polluting in the global south, the global north profits and these wars for carbon credits, life management projects on indigenous land selling polluters to pollute in California, indigenous people and their lands markets are seen as affordable carbon credits sell our clean air to polluters to keep up with their journey in oil gas productions and other parts of the world. Carbon emissions did not address climate family communities will feel the impact of carbon taxes as a solution. The only way to cut our carbon emissions is to move away from capitalist economies and social pain. Carbon pricing is a piece of colonial capitalism, capitalist solutions. No one not save the earth to carbon emissions and imperial capitalism. We are the solutions for climate change. Framework. We reaffirm the Phoenix Horse temporal disruption, ecological, social relations, counter definitions, UHG, and measurement for disembodied debates that ignores real world issues. 1923 UCG, accommodating analytical debates with between those experience, evidence, positive, or response to hypothetical issues that cause general real world applicability to resolving to be determined diction of the continuity, resolve after determined should means mandatory, McDonough, should is most commonly used to express mandatory, discretionary for, means to take a policy one's own, marrying one's date, means to take a policy one's own, why market business purchases are initiatives that generate opportunities to support the most marginalized or down on date, market business purchases initiatives that generate opportunities by supporting the most marginalized, to engage in markets those at the intersection of economic and social exclusion due to gender, ethnicity, disability, and other factors to leave them in positions of low status and power. 6 that requires a limit of 5 entry points at the NEG. Against their treaty, they're about on their day. Market based purchases are over around 5 entry points support to engage in market social protections that supports marginalized to engage market assets, identifying and linking skills and assets marginalized in the labor markets, organizing mean opportunities, mutual weapons, solidarity as a response to the solution coordinating across market system which will marginalize benefit for markets as a community or region engaging in markets. 7 clean energy policy requires supporting greenhouse standards and finding ways to incentivize fossil fuels green economy charter today. Clean energy policy requires the greenhouse standards and finding ways to incentivize gas use carbon decision means the elimination or reduction of carbon emissions after reduction of day reduction or elimination of carbon emissions. And Curtis get me the loose evidence and now extend the counter model. We should engage the resolution through radicalization. Point one epistemological growth, critical ecological competition over years worth of debates make us better people, and activists like David Love who created leaders who be different from who open up immigration firms that's only unique to our model of debate now. And two, let it end of the world net benefit our models a training ground for not safe futurist politics as a model. And for climate engagement, Trump gives uniqueness to our readings transfer like leading the IRA, booming big oil, which means now state affirmations are good result. The sacrifice zones that top down affirmations creates anti-capitalist politics and abolitionists in our model debate only. 3, our net benefit outweighs our net benefits outweigh. You should flip your impact calculus to embrace a model survivability based on what debate not to be not what it is now. Trump is uniqueness but 0 model debate that was done above. The fear of a violation must be put on hold during mass deportation, the end of the EI and financial aid, which precludes political efficacy for black people in the first place for reasonability. And we are germane to the topic, competing interpretations cause the substance paradox, critical scholarship, which whitewashes debate. Now go to fairness now. One extent black disposability, that's large in there. Model debate relies on positioning black non-state politics and civil and hostile into traditional norms, which is anti-black dogmas of those supposed to center black debaters, which create sacrifice zones of debate that cause anti-black anxieties outside of the space that are responsible for abandoning black people amidst the climate crisis. Too, if you think there is even a slight risk of a loss of fairness in this individual debate sale, but after commemorate Black History Month as a face of Trump DEI oppression, we must embrace this form of acts by celebrating those who raised, even if it's only for 28 days. Jackson, 20 black Americans lived in a state of ratio of terror, black history to give them stage until work black Americans had already done, whether others organized or not. We can see the opportunity to honor neglected the politics of black Americans have a military form where race and we embrace this form that acts like celebrating those that are too often erased, even if it's just for 28 days. 3 procedural fairness and violent not objectable for our understanding of fairness. Instead, Sharad et al. 2025. PJ concerns involving all the people in decision-making process, procedural fairness, not participation to address agenda citizen participation in the mass process of which public is more involved rather than informed. The participation does not address procedural fairness recognition requires meaningful engagement or community shaping broader understanding of procedural fairness. No paradox speech times and going for dropped arguments, etc. Not automatically policy debate, and engaging in it only proves we care about our arguments, not their weaponization. The fairness now clash our debates and journey portable skills and activism that's key to post-college and how we engage policy debate. Policy making is only a question of fairness and clash, which we solve their offense better. After Salvador and Judino, 23 debate building on black Louisville debaters who disrupt traditional practices, 1 signifying and 2 genre validation. Traditional debate has reviewed the government violence and debate activity for services to parties and marginalized communities for them to suffer repression. As good producers such as this lawyer, multiple years assistance navigating institution problem together communities and marginalized youth. Many debates teaching high school students demonstrating the ways where your debates have an insurmountable impact. And now 1 and 2 extend co-bond hegemonic climate policies exist at their clash. The centers on ideological terrain markets that commodifies the environment, which is responsible for the way people tend to be blackness as disposable because they're things support things like LNG, econs, this and carbon taxes with all circulating taxes which cause anti-black violence and support things like policing institutions to extend the double consciousness at their process of debates over a year or an assimilated process that is psychologically violent where black people are coerced and playing into a system that is built of assimilated colonization that obviously harmed them, which answers all other arguments about switch that debate now limits one functional limits our model forces the one to see to affirm the core of the topic, which means abstinence and decarbonize under a model that proves no limits exclusion means you must always have something to say versus the absolute. We have limits are all abstinence affirm the core of the topic through MBAs, which are market-based mechanisms that support those most marginalized. We ground always limits we you get case terms kind of methods and ethics arguments for they overlimit they make the topic small by only including carbon tax or ban of fossil fuels which ruins clash and education 5, but if they include absent of any sort of energy, which means they install their own limits as proven by the 1C counter definition that literally says individuals can do MEIs, which takes out the T use of Z definition and proves that we need their model is worse and that can't solve chaos will still be red post round of policy as under their model will still do everything to straighten the grid without an MEI banning subsidies, which proves limits suspension is non-unique to try or die for our model. We're predictable will now true weaponization is that they weaponize predictability to what is predictable for them is a self-serving form and anti-black is a distance to show for radical and non-state demands in the black radical tradition. Now ground I already answered it above, but no impact they get distance and counterplans these shots to justify why reading them is good and ethically good for the people of the color of the environment. They can recounter theories like liberalism and neoclassical economics, etc. Now competitive incentives obviously not true. Our model of competition is better. We haven't said all competition is bad, but rather our model of competition is good, but emotional domination is out there. A totalizing view of competition definitely creates worse debates regardless of whether or not arguments win because they can say things like warming good, which are obviously unethical.
Ready?
Yeah.
On case you said non-reformist reforms are bad, yes?
We think that status non-reformist reforms are bad.
Status not, got it.
Yeah.
On the counterplan, you never said the state was bad, correct?
The 1AC cross-6 is just like we never made a stance on whether the state is bad or not. We think that bottom-up movements are the key internal link to access state engagement. We think that starting from the top down is bad.
So we're all on the same page here, right? The 2AC argument on the case that status non-reformist reforms are always bad, and then
Top down.
No. Okay, there's like a delineation, right? There's an internal link to how we get to those things, right? We have said that bottom-up movements are key
to make demands to solve those things that don't rely on extractivist violence.
Oh.
Top-down things are bad.
Just a
We're bad
clarification
AOC
question about
example I
that.
already gave.
So, bottom-up movements that motivate state reforms, non-reforms reforms, can those be good?
That's the F. You would vote F.
Got it. Okay, so if it has the endpoint of like.
But
It's not the end point though.
Yeah, not an endpoint, but it's
it,
one of the.
but it also
potential
cannot
outcomes.
start with the United States federal government.
Yeah, yeah.
That's top down.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Oksala, you said that it proves that bottom-up movements are good. Would you say like the ones we've read, so like BLM, March for Our Lives, are consistent with the 1AC's political horizon?
We think that the way that you have enacted those coalitions in line with things like a carbon tax and your model debate isn't consistent with the
Because
1AC.
also like the
That doesn't
NAACP
answer my
has
question.
openly been like, we think carbon pricing is like a form of colonialism.
Yeah.
So it's like that's a form of
So-
tokenization.
so
where you say
no.
things like, oh, black people want these movements, when actually they reject
None
them.
of this answers my question.
I
Are these
think
consistent
it
with the 1AC's
does.
political horizon?
It does.
I think it does.
No, it says you're saying it's not consistent with T. Is it consistent
No,
with
it's
the
not
1AC?
consistent
It's
with
not
consistent
consistent with your model
procedures.
debate.
But it's not even about.
That is
It's like the.
But
the
we would also make arguments that it's not consistent like with your performance broadly.
But it's
right?
about the literal like substance. It's not just
No,
about
this is about
models
the
because they
1AC.
literally said
the
that they want
counterinterpretation.
Yeah.
You said the 1AC must engage as like a radical stasis point. Is
Yeah.
the thing it's engaging climate change policy?
We think that a radical stasis would engage climate policy.
Got it.
Yeah,
Makes
it
sense.
does it better because of the bottom up stuff.
Similar argument, the functional limits argument. Why does your model allow the negative to make arguments about like changing the energy mix? Decides about that.
I don't understand your question.
You made a functional limits argument about how we can read DAs about like energy, correct?
Yeah, like our argument is that like you can read this as a counterplans, but you can also like justify them like why they're good for marginalized communities in the environment. But you can do things like read counter theories of like liberalism, neoclassical economics.
Sure.
You just have to justify
I'm with you on
why
the
those
second
things are
component.
good.
On the first one,
Like,
like you
talk to
can
me
read
about
DAs and counterplans. What's the warrant for that? Like what part of the 1AC does it answer?
What part of the 1AC? You
Like,
have
you can
to
use
figure
the
those things
opposite
out. Like we are endorsing a model debate. You would be able to engage it. You would have.
Here's
to
a different way to
figure
phrase this question.
out
Why
what
does the
is-
AF link to the oil DA?
Why does the AF link to the oil dissent? What?
Yep.
I don't know. Find a link. Why would I tell you that?
Why would any AF? Why would any AF under this interpretation ever link to a DA about oil? Or gas?
Because they're apps that engage the core of the topic
Yeah.
and do things to disrupt.
Like
things that cause
decarbonization.
fossil-
Like
Okay.
chaos do decarbonization. Like our border abolitionism app is like. do
Is
decarbonization.
engaging decarbonization and defending it necessary to meet your model?
We think that we have affirmed decarbonization.
Is it necessary to meet your model?
Is it necessary to engage your model? I mean, we've defined it as like elimination or reduction of carbon emissions. So teams would have to reduce emissions.
Oh, awesome.
Oh wait, Chris, I have the cards right.
Oh, I'll send that right.
Okay, wait. Can we
Yeah,
pause
I
prep real quick?
want to class
Yes.
prep
That's what I
Yeah.
like.
card.
It's a Sugino card, right?
Yeah, it's the Jackson. It was just cards on fair.
Oh, you didn't send it.
I look have like seen all those cards already, but you can send them. But
Yeah,
I'm
I'll-
fine to keep prepping while that
Okay.
happens.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm putting it up.
You have the Jackson card?
Yeah, it's there.
I'm gonna send this.
Oh.
$9:15. I have to go to the bathroom really badly though.
We don't have for negative SMSU.
Neg.
What'd you go for?
I said that framework is probably a D word. I said maybe fiat is bad.
Seems like it was.
Yeah. It was an interesting debate.
Did they read their greenwashing?
Yeah. Yeah, low key, like I was not winning any substance to that debate. They're just like, yeah, your model's probably bad, and I was like, yeah, you know, I did like,
It's an argument.
yeah,
It's a pretty good one.
fiat may not be a good thing.
Yeah, it seems pretty tough for the AF to come back from that one.
They almost did.
Shit.
They almost did. ready to see Luka Doncic on the Lakers?
No, like actually not at all.
Lakers.
It's so fun being an LA sports fan. Y'all don't even get it, man.
Okay.
It's just
I'm
so
going to
easy.
First of all,
start
Gene
prepping
definitely
for
doesn't
the
get it.
copy
Like at all. Like not even close.
Orioles absolutely zero offseason moves.
Charlie Morton is a really, he's a pitcher, dude.
He's like a grandpa, bro.
That's one way
He'll
to.
throw 150 innings.
Yeah.
Baby, like he
Barely-
sort of has
he
to stop working at
barely
some
gets-
point, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical about the rotation. The offense,
A little.
the thing that makes me not too scared about the Orioles is that like nobody hit an entire second half of last year, and I don't think that will continue.
You know,
Unless Edley is just like,
I thought you were at least getting to like the second to last, like in the.
yeah, you know.
Like the Royals.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
the
How did y'all
Swept by the
y'all
Royals,
have
scored
Gunnar
three
The
Henderson.
Royals are cracking.
The Royals are
I've been a
cracking.
Royals truther for years.
That's because
I've been on the
they
Nick Prattle hype train for like 5
You'll appreciate this. Arnav's been completely catatonic all weekend.
Really about the Lucas stuff? Oh my god, I'm so hyped. Yeah, and the Dodgers just got better. Who thought the World Series?
The Dodgers are
champions-
actually nuts. That's so
We just have money. You know,
Yeah.
we
It's
just
just, how do they have that much more than everyone else?
Who is your favorite player on the World Series team, and why is the ratio change?
Me?
Yeah.
On the Royals World Series? Well, you mean Lorenzo?
Did you say it's
Lorenzo Cain is the best World Series performer of all
I
time.
have a Lorenzo Cain bobblehead from like my first Brewers game. Like I went up to Milwaukee, I got a free Lorenzo Cain bobblehead.
Dude.
That's kind of sick.
I got him and Eloy Jimenez. This is my bobblehead collection. Orioles legend, but Eloy Jimenez.
he hit like 500 for like 3 weeks. I was like, oh my god, Eloy Jimenez is finally realizing his potential.
Like 2016 Yaseo Puig, bruh. Like,
Puig was good for a while.
he was good for like,
Puig was good.
He washed himself, yeah.
he was good for like 2 months, got really bad for like a year, and it was good for 3 other
Yeah.
months, and then just like never came back. It was weird.
Yeah,
Just
but
like
that
me,
wasn't
for
the reason
real.
he didn't come back.
It was quite weird.
It is topicality. I've sent out some cards.
The answer to Banky's question with Alex Score. Anybody cares? Not much.
I can't.
My favorite platinum glover.
I haven't gotten anything just yet. Probably not good.
I sent it in the body theme. There's 2 very short pieces of evidence.
What did you do?
I dropped paper. It's whatever's. I forgot I had some. It's just tea, right?
Yes.
Alright, cool.
1 second.
You're good.
Okay, I'm good.
Right. Kind of. Everyone good? Okay. Debate is first and foremost a competitive activity. There's no other explanation for switching sides, identifying dropped arguments, filling out a prep sheet, elimination rounds, or taking time to remove analytics from the document. Competition is the primary driver of research. Practice speeches is the foundation of the community. Every other benefit to the activity relies on fair adjudication, or else judges can dismiss arguments ipso facto, which nullifies the benefits of their model. If we win competition structures activity, preserving limits has to come first. The negative needs nuance and specific research to prevent the affirmative from monopolizing preparation and treating generics, independent of fairness. Limits are key to clash and iterative testing. That's the most intrinsic impact of debate. Other forms allow for scholastic exposure, but debates between equally prepared opponents sharing novel strategies because they force competing theories of change to intersect with each other. 1. Argumentative refinement, thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead. Analyzing literature and competing strategies and predicting the opposition's key. Decolonization, abolition, and new world. 2. Energy policy, rejecting technical discussions over U.S. environmental policy. Renders their theory incomplete and seeds energy to the right. Core topic questions about transmission, renewables, and fossil fuel infrastructure determine politics. Tactical knowledge of the state is key to deconstructing energy monopolies that preserve the status quo. 2AC1, we need to know they violate our interpretation mandates governmental action to achieve emissions reductions through a market-based approach. That's Dictionary of Government, Fay and Stevens. The U.S. counter definition. 1. Precision. Our definition is the consensus. It is from a dictionary easily corroborated by Google jurisprudence or common meaning. Theirs is not a definition. It's the use of the word in a phrase in a sentence defining how debates have played out, but it's not attempting to set a framework for how they would in the future. 2. Context. Defining the government between the 3 branches is the only way the phrase clean energy policy or market-based instruments makes sense, because the resolution calls after increase governmental controls on the market. 3rd. Limits. Anything else goes to lit off the topic allows agencies, states, companies, municipalities, or individuals to undergo reform with no negative ground. Now, the resolve counter definition. Wrong. Resolve resolved means to enact by law. Words in phrases 64 resolved with defined as decided by law. Should means mandatory, is not exclusive with our definition, does not get them anywhere. BAF does not meet their adopt current definition. There's no policy formulation in the 1AC. That was cross-text. Curtis was explicit. They do not result in a new set of policies. Group the Thorpe definitions. 1, they do not meet them. The affirmative does not allow the most marginalized to engage in markets. Cross-text demonstrates that they do not formulate the market in any capacity. 2, it is unlimiting. Any action like criminal justice, immigration, food supply, reform, etc. can all increase access to the market, but they're not market-based approaches to decarbonization. 3rd, talk the context. It does not suit for decarbonization, clean energy policy, or the other phrases in the resolution that give it context. Our statement's evidence does. Their clean energy policy and decarbonization definitions are not exclusive with ours. It requires disincentivizing fossil fuels, but must be done through an interpretation of market-based instruments. They also don't meet either because that does not change the energy mix. The MBI definition is not the word of the topic. It is market-based instruments, not market-based approaches. Okay, now the counter-interpretation. They don't meet it. That would have to decarbonize with a market-based instrument, even if they do not depend the plan or the USFG, since that's the core topic controversy. Smith and 20 have agreed both, because I don't remember. Topics about the airlines, no. Wouldn't be surprised here that half of the reduced stasis is one of the militarism, controversial premise or critical argument linked toward the topic. It concedes that the predictable stasis is necessary for understanding the world, and the TVA proves we access, quote, rethinking of cultural assumptions. We meet argument proves they don't access radical stasis. They're saying they're about ecological social relations. The core top controversy is about decarbonization. The 1AC cross-text was explicit that they do not change the energy mix, saying meaningful capacity, whichever chase think of grounded in their interpretations, concessionary, reactionary, contrived, and impossible to research. Before the season, core dissents are renewables bad, fossil fuel maintenance good, and links to what happens once we begin the transition. 1ACs, including this one into their model, sidestep this question by imagining a utopic endpoint, and the negative cannot and should not negate it. There are several interlinks to our debatability standard. 1, limits their interpretation includes a vast number of firms with no unifying generics, after proposed pessimism, hapticality, ecological relations, Marxism, Maoism, appellation of radical democratic reform, including every policy have to ground, even if there's clash within these literature bases. That can change their approach on a round-by-round basis, defending the praxis or epistemology to maximize permutation strategy, and they have to be prepared from every angle for strategy prep. 3rd, precision. There's no objective standard for an abstract topic under their interpretation. The travel test is inherently subjective, which ensures the limits disaster and makes arbitrary exclusions inevitable because 2 ends have no basis for topicality. 4, active proliferation, abdicating the USFG as the nature of the resolution tries negative prep and eliminates econ politics. Save out links to every generic 2 ends rely on. The TVA will be the counterplan, and the 1R it solves our offense about sonic affect and sharing communal responsibility. They can play songs to create, quote, affective tonalities that connect people together and use that argument to answer the cupcake. They could use their critique of disposability to answer dissides and continue centering the 1AC throughout the debate, making sure the content is similar throughout a season by either team's interpretation. Now, the next argument, group the end of the world stuff. 1, no link. Debating the state is not the same as endorsing it. That requires saying the state should change because it's engaged in practices that inherently hurt the climate in pursuit of market value. They offer corrective to their practice, saying an actor should change does not grant them legitimacy, and that is not expected to or required to take a stance beyond the resolution. 2, turn. Sometimes governmental action allows debaters to find the best ways to infiltrate and destroy structures. That's a view. The topic does not require affirming the status quo of markets. It requires an intervention into them. Neoliberalism is not an ontology. It is a series of decisions that favor deregulation. The fact that the history of markets is anti-black and exclusionary is an half argument under our interpretation. The counter-interpretation says that reducing barriers to market access is the core of the topic, so it cannot solve this offense. 3rd, accountability is good. In the wake of fascism and rise of Trump, we should force states to adopt harm reduction policies or hold themselves accountable in the climate. Their 1AC Coban evidence says, quote, carbon pricing remains very low in the economies in which it's applied, meaning it does not work, and then goes on to describe several more contingent material barriers for carbon pricing solutions that have made them fail, which demonstrates that they agree that policy does not go far enough now, not that it's irredeemable in nature. 4, our model of debate solves better. It forces non-black and the white debaters to research institutional relations to violence of the state and climate change and how putting pressure on the state can accomplish various actions, or it cannot achieve redress and is insufficient, which solves the argument about using solutions of the past to inform the present, because it forces debaters to research and deliberate over their strategies. 5, their interpretation does not solve the forces negative to disagree with the Phoenix Force, black agency, and central strategies for survival, because it centers those resistance strategies rather than institutional engagement. Those networks for self-actualization and engagement over time, because it follows debates speaking on survival strategies that vast majority of debaters do not have subject position access to make claims on. That answers the argument about impact turning our model. Okay, now reasonability is a bad framework for evaluating the debate. Use competing interpretations. 1, judge intervention. Reasonability is an unprecedented and arbitrary standard. 2, predictability. Teams currently prepare for one interpretation, so it's the most precise standard. 3rd, limits the sum of all reasonable ways to interpret the topic is not in and of itself a reasonable topic. The black debate disposability arguments group them. 1, viewing losses as exclusion is bad. The judge inevitably selects a model of debate based on technical execution, but it does not render either side's arguments invalid or disposable. Elevating wins and losses to politics is bad because arguments that are bad win all the time. 2nd, our deployment of framework is not a knee-jerk reaction, is an impact turn to the YC's claim. Though we can never have debates about the market, we have not taken a content-neutral approach to framework or attempted to whitewash the activity. We have defended a model of debate that enhances word-making ability. According to the 1AC, you should not vote after endorse Black History Month. 1, it's pathological. You should not tie stakes to the ballot because the debate is inherently a technical activity, and you'll vote for the team that out-texts the other one, not the one you agree with the most. The CSU is asking you to abide by the same procedure, so you should not erase Black History. So you should not view your ballot as an erasure of Black History Month. You can vote negative to acknowledge the Black History history and its importance while centering it within our model. Now, the next argument, procedural fairness, may not be the end-all be-all, but it is a rallying point by which the activity is organized that was explained above. It is not the same as public deliberation. The resolution is predictable, and is the only basis for ground that is available. The Sugino argument, the KVK internal link, is turned by limits debate. We cannot discuss every important literature field. It's more valuable to find a limited scope of engageable topics based on predefined resolution, and to change the terms on a round-by-round basis. 2, returns or offense KVK debates require that both students adhere to the resolution in some sense. The 3rd, counter-critique solved. The TVA and switch side debate will be explained by the 1 and R. Now, the hegemonic comment policy decided 1, global warming is not premised on disposability politics. Warming is not just a critical uniqueness question. It's something we can take action to alleviate. It's intensified human activity, debating in a vigorous way, but economic and political conditions that produce that is good because we should be attuned to those contingencies too. They might be right that the conditions for warming's possibility exceed individual bounds, but that does not mean it's impossible to reform contingent structures. You know this is true because Sweden, Finland, California, etc. have all succeeded in reducing pollution through cap and trade, and the fact that global warming has textures over time has not always been anthropogenic and has sometimes been cooling demonstrates that there is contingency in this context. 3rd, switch side debate solves. The negative can win by saying anti-blackness exceeds and determines market, and over the course of the season, if the AFF can't cut the mustard, they'll lose these debates all the time. Functional limits, they do not solve under their interpretation. Market-based, the MBA is not an interpretation of a term in the resolution. There's no over-limiting under our interpretation because all the AFFs are unified by the same set of generics, which is that price signals for decarbonization create a specific market reaction that the negative is easily able to impact turn. It ensures that there's no limits explosion under a model, and the Tracy is lacking specific contextualization. They say that critical AFFs are inevitable, answered by competing interpretations. Treating individual rounds as the basis for T removes all bounds on the topic, which links to all of our offense. You should treat your ballot as though it ensures a broader model of debate because it's the most consistent way to declare impacts. Anything else arbitrarily defers the question of what we should debate about. So it cannot solve either team's offense. 2nd, it applies to them. Topicality is also inevitable. The only external impact is what would we do in the debate space, which we are controlling. The internal link to now, they say that we weaponize procedure. There's no link. I explained this. The argument which is above, dissents and counterpoints are not allowed under their interpretation, but the fact that they've said we could read counter theories like liberalism and neoclassical economics demonstrates that they cannot prove any of they cannot solve any of their arguments about hegemonic exclusion because the negative will always rush to those generics under their interpretation, which creates the same echo chamber that they've critiqued. This can never be net offense in the 2AR. The last argument is that we should not use competition to structure our activity. Our argument was not that competition should structure how we view each other. People who lose do not have less inherent value, and nobody has said that we should import that on a personal basis. Rather, that competition unifies all the things that we collectively engage in. Process.
Good?
Yep.
Alright. I guess, like, what apps are allowed under your model?
Affirmatives that affirm a market-based instrument for decarbonization.
I guess, like, what does that look like?
I mean, like cap and trade, carbon tax, removing fossil fuel subsidies, the TVA.
Okay, I guess,
all
like,
those are topical.
I guess, like, the TVA, I guess, like, why do you read, like, banned subsidies against, like, K teams?
Why do we read banned subsidies
Yeah.
against K teams? I mean, there are strategic reasons. We also read it against policy teams sometimes. We have, the first time we broke that, the other team went for a dissent.
Okay, I guess, like, are any KAPs that are, like, non-state or, like, not USFG included under your model?
If they're not USFG, they're not included by our model.
Okay, but, like, why not?
Because the resolution defines United States federal government. We have said that is the 3 branches, and that is our interpretation of how the resolution should
Okay,
be
so
read.
they're just, like, KAPs that, like, don't affirm the state or, like, talk about any of those things are just, like, verbatim excluded from your model?
They're not topical, no.
Okay, I guess that's just disposability stuff, right? I guess, like, fairness, what is fairness?
Both sides having an equitable chance within the parameters of debate is what procedural fairness
I guess,
is.
like, who determines those things?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like really lost by your question. Who determines what things?
Yeah, like, who determines fairness?
Nobody like determines fairness. We've made arguments about what procedures of debate are the most fair. Those things are obviously adjudicatable and negotiable, but like
Okay,
I don't
guess,
really
like,
understand what
why
you mean.
is your model debate key, like, during a Trump presidency?
During a Trump presidency, we've made arguments for why mobilizing skills is uniquely key during an era
I
of
guess, like,
fascism
what
because
skill,
seating
what,
the political
what
to the right.
what skills does your model debate provide?
There are 2 sets of skills: the process-oriented skills, the ability to think ahead of an opponent and defend and prepare a strategy.
Okay, but, like,
is
how
one
do
set.
we, like,
The
what,
second
what
set
are the,
of
what
skills.
what is, like, the content that we think about these things? Like, or I guess,
The
like, what,
second set of skills is justifications for why thinking about the state and climate change policy is good. A lot of that will be explained in the webinar when
Okay,
the
I
TPA
guess,
is
like,
explained. Okay.
I think, in Harvard, you read Trump good as a turn. Why?
Why did we read Trump good? Because
Yeah.
we were debating Emory and we wanted to beat them very badly.
So, so you just wanted to beat them very badly, I see.
Yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so
Gallagher?
strategic incentives, like,
Yep.
override your model.
Strategic incentives for sure determine that decision.
Okay, that sounds like your model. Okay,
Yep.
I guess, like, the, sorry, I guess, like, the, where am I finding this? Yeah, I guess, like, the whole whole like market value stuff, I guess like why are markets uniquely key to engage like marginalized communities like in specificity?
What argument are you referring to?
Just like markets.
Well, something that's worth noting is that the 2AC also read evidence that said markets are key to engaging with marginalized communities, and that's what the role of
Yeah, but like, I'm
affirmative
curious,
under
like,
interpretation.
how
We've
our
made a couple
interpretation-
of other arguments about why engaging with the markets is good because
Well,
it's
I'm confused
politically
because like
expedient
I wonder
and allows
like
people
how
to
our interpretation doesn't like necessarily exclude like market-based instruments.
what?
Yeah, like why?
Your
doesn't our
interpretation does not include the market-based instruments that are in the
It
resolution,
doesn't
which
make
are
sense
those
though. We
that
have said like
attenuate
market-based approaches
climate
can
change.
include those things.
Well, you've like read a card that defines market-based approaches within a totally different context than the resolution, which are totally different instruments than the ones that we are saying should be centered by our interpretation. You get
9:45.
I guess not.
Okay.
Try with the
Oh
word.
yeah, my bad.
Are you taking prep now? Or
No, we're nothing on.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
I'll just keep this.
I am sending that. Actually, I will take like
Okay.
1 second.
Do you need me for that?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done. Can you just 5 seconds?
Yo, Malika, did you take Omar's charger from your room you were to use? Omar can't find Omar's laptop charger.
Let me check.
Because I know
Because it's not in the room.
I can't find my charger. I just know that maybe you accidentally picked it up. It's like a white MacBook charger.
I don't think I picked that up. Maybe she did.
Okay.
It's not in the room.
I'll ask you.
No.
You better go ask
I'm
Bank.
not gonna do homework.
Somebody better go get Bank.
Someone grabbed it. It was definitely in the room. I was Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Omar, do you know where to find them? Do you know where to find wake dash?
There's a bunch of them you can.
I'm sure I'll see one of them.
There's literally.
Yeah, I'm sure.
big
Trying to
team.
get North Carolina. I appreciate it.
I'm just opening it.
There's just one.
Oh.
Yeah. It's the counterplan in the case.
You have to do all of this. You have to send a whole document for one card.
Very
Would you
genuine
prefer
first-
if it was in the body of an email?
Low key, yes, but I'm
That's an interesting
Really?
take.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna complain.
You using counterplan in that case?
I sure did. Alright. Going out good?
I am not.
Wait, 1 second. You said the counterplan in case?
Yes. The first argument I'm answering on case is role of the judge. If that's
Okay.
handled. Yeah.
Okay. I am personally good. Whatever.
Yeah, same.
Okay, awesome. Panel?
Answering conditionality first. One, like we did not say we're conditional. We did not. The 2AC did not explain a violation. Every single counterplan blank is an example of the TBA. This is operational different than if we read COG against a carbon tax app. 2, totality as a prior question that's on the other page. 3, testing straight into this argument. We should be able to test the money from multiple angles in order to come out of the round with a better political strategy to challenge anti-black and imperial violence. Kicking an argument in the round is not the same thing as conditionally proffering policy solutions because debating is just glorified brainstorming, and our model on framework is able to do that better. For perfcon, we did not. What did we perfcon that was answered above? We not suffer. The affirmative not suffer because the TVA is an impact turns the refusal to engage with the resolutional stasis. Now, permutations. I only heard permutation to the counterplan. All of you should look at your flow before the 1AR starts and figure out what you actually flowed in the 2AC. If you cannot hold the line between the 2AC, the 1AR, and the 2AR, strike off your flow because it all shaped black strategy and the 2AC was fast and loose. Permutation to the counterplan. Severs the affirmation of Phoenix blood. That is motivation because it's a late thing. We can engage in. The toxic competition argument, I have no idea what's going on here, but the important component of this page is that any permutation, i.e. acknowledging that policy might be a net beneficial outcome to grassroots advocacy, demonstrates that attaching the money to the affirmation of sonics and bottom-up movements are not exclusive to defending a topical plan. Now, compromise DA. I'll just explain the counterplan here because they didn't really explicitly mention a single 2C plank hold the line. They do only get to extrapolate 2C arguments to answer planks, not proffer new ones about each plank individually fails. The counterplan removes fossil fuel subsidies, substitutes carbon prices and funnels all of that money towards a litany of public services like renewable energy, regenerative agriculture, transportation, education, and healthcare, all in the plank all in the text of the plank are biological culture evidence as necessary. They come to the balance and acted to the status quo of sacrifice zone to its straight turns their argument, especially considering when you see cross-6 conceded to us that they're energy agnostic, so we're the only way to solve this very out-of-ground impact about sacrifice zones being bad. They say the Trump argument, LNG boom, would be a lot harder if you eliminated fossil fuel subsidies. The evidence that as well as the energy evidence that the counterpoint overcomes oligarchical policy because intervention like LNG boom would not be possible, given that the counterplan bans fossil fuel subsidies, which makes it impossible for the federal government to bail out Exxon whenever shit hits the wall, like COVID or 08. They say we do not specify how much the counterplan gives. One, this actually isn't an argument that for the reason that the TVA matters. The one see can specify a very high price. We can have a debate over what that price should be. One see cross-sex shows like there to be debates over where that funding goes, i.e. should go to money or some public service. All that would result in a better form of clash with the fact that they say we didn't specify a price, such change that there's a debate to be had under our interpretation framework. Two, the counterplan text that substantial arboriculture evidence says it would be sufficient to fund public services, so it cannot possibly be a deficit. They say we don't reject recontextualization. This is not recontextualization. You should have read the one see cards and answer them at all. And fossil fuel subsidy abolition, and that's also significant because they dropped every single card about why it does. And the one see said abolish all production subsidies, so they cannot go for too vague. The Bernal evidence one. Bernal is the debate to be had under our model framework. Greenwashing constitutions might be valid, but the AFF were closed and important debate by retreating from the stasis of the resolution. Two, or when see gravel evidence that fossil fuel infrastructure increases violence against indigenous women and increases disappearance as well as violation that demonstrates that our policy is a net beneficial solution. Three, sequencing. I'm just going to warn you now, if the 1 hour drops this, the 2 hour is going to say, oh no, they dropped a trick. When is the evidence says that the policy solution, i.e. preventing fossil fuel infrastructure, is necessary to spur social movements. Anything else causes disappearance and everyone which makes the movement less powerful. Now, the case overview. I'm answering the role of the judge at the top. The role of the judge is to determine who did the better debating. It's key to every pedagogical value of the activity. That's necessary to evaluate whether the 1AC was effective in creating an alternative world and whether the one is political strategy we should pursue in the first place, i.e. it is a prerequisite to evaluating whether or not our reading of topicality as well as the TVA was an example of dishonoring black people within February. So this demonstrates that you need to evaluate the better debating in order to evaluate this argument in the first place. I'm pretty sure the 2AC doesn't even really disagree with this premise, so I don't understand how this can be meaningful judge instruction at all in the 1AR. Now, the case proper. One, presumption, ace of point. They cannot solve their offense and debate framework. The reading of framework is inevitable, as is negation. The fact that the 1AC relies on topicality to generate offense, such that they cannot shift away from this model of debate. Even if AFF makes debate better, it does not mobilize people to develop their particular skills because the model encourages double down. There's absolutely no explanation of how they scale up, so this cannot possibly be offense in terms of how they change the model of debate via this ballot. B, they cannot solve all offense outside the round. The 1AC was littered with examples of this, i.e. all of Trump's the Trump administration's messed up policies. We're launching this at the top of the 1AC. What is the relationship between the reading of the 1AC and their political strategy? And that the 1AC cross-6 explicitly acknowledge that they are energy agnostic, i.e. they do not shift away from fossil fuels, they do not increase renewable energy, they do not explicitly tie themselves to any political polling prescription. All they said is that they did not preclude that, but they demonstrates that they should not be granted solvency for all of this, so it cannot possibly be a factor in the topicality. The presumption is not anti-black, and it's just an argument about what is the most effective strategy in order to solve imperialism or anti-blackness, both inside the space as well as political strategy we should endorse outside the space. And they say if the 1AC is a good idea, then you should vote affirmative. We had preempted this argument in the 1 and C by quote. They dropped it. No new 1AR responses. The fact that the 1AC relies on topicality in order to generate offense about how we should shift debate and why we should affirm Phoenix Force demonstrates they cannot possibly escape outside that interpretation because the 1AC political strategy is ultimately self-referential, and they cannot possibly offer to you a world that exists outside of topicality, which is the reason why they do not have any prescription of the policy solutions that should come after the 1AC. Now, real quick, answering the Smith evidence, they do not meet this interpretation because the Smith evidence says that the radicalization should be tied to the resolution, to what the resolution is, i.e. the 1AC should affirm a radical way to meet decarbonization goals. The fact that the 1AC was energy agnostic does not meet and is the word behind every single presumption argument. Now, when the 2AC2 affect fails, the 2AC was extremely light here, so I'm guessing it's not going to be a meaningful part of the 2AR, so I'm going to be light here as well. It cannot alone generate mobilization because it's not tie itself, i.e. the reading of, i.e. the performance of Sonics to any political solution like challenging the Trump's administration policies could not solve any 1AC impact. Now, 1AC3 climate activism is good. I think this is on topicality, so I'm not going to skip it for now. But the fact that they said they engaged in it and that they did not preclude because bottom-up activism that results in non-reformist reforms is compatible with the 1AC demonstrates that you can attach a plan to the 1AC activism and say that is one of the endpoints, not the endpoint, but one of the desirable net beneficial outcomes of the bottom-up organization in the first place. Now, 1AC4, this is absolutely devastating. Non-reformist reforms all possible. They're not all bad. The 2AC actually had 0 word strike. Any new 1AR examples or Robert's evidence was explicit that says that the examples that they have cited for why affirming Phoenix Force would is not because it resulted in a permitting pause. That is an example of a policy that organization could result in. If the 1AC said we should pause permits or we should do a carbon tax that would have immediately a similar result, then it would be able to solve their offense. The Spillers and Knight is relevant because even if the hieroglyphics of fascism has been exacerbated in World Trump, 1AC Spillers is explicit that we need to engage the state in order to prevent the Trump administration's role in Republican Congress from finishing the job that was created and enacted first in the Middle Passage via contention political intervention.
Shut up.
That was pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty good.
representing a singular card. It should be some. The order is case, counter plan, the framework page. I'm gonna get water while everybody's getting that.
Oh, I didn't realize this one.
Yeah.
I drink simple. This one.
Did everybody receive the card?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Wake go good. Yep. Alright. Panel. Daniel. Alright. Full affirmative for the Phoenix Force as a temporal disruption, white security to solve external climate change. The performance of the one seen execution of the path together, tactical tools from lost order transfer to our present with the key to guide what the failures of our past. Drop science action equivalent of quantum mechanics to travel back in time to end the moment of the care with the key to create affective mobilization and create large scale movements against rigid capitalism. Conceding all our examples mean that the affect pages start at 100, Louisiana drops the wobbly stop all the top oil imperialism due to Sonic, Chicago, Change for Information, and Miss Knight's environmental training program all prove that African fusion is key to solve climate change, but their model is exclusive, which causes extended collapse. Now, the limelight proper is role of the judge and do the debating drop. Then yes, it is good, but we meet theirs, but they do not meet ours because you should both from the team are also best honored like history, multi challenge, black supposability, member Trip, David, and Kurt. As white people, you must refuse the same state that's called black supposability under their model of the next argument that is a prerequisite to status quo. And while we're debating answers above, we exercise that better. Presumption is definitely entered by the overview, but wrong because they're wrong about the argument about reading framework is inevitable absent negation because our counter model definitely solves it. Which proved the affect stuff is an answer above because they dropped all our examples. Next argument that we cannot solve lines outside the round. Policy teams can't either, which means that you should not hold us to double standard, rather bro affect the method to the idea the method is good, which answers the argument about the already preemptive argument. The next argument we cannot make a world after policy. They dropped that the end of the world is coming now, which should frame the rest of the way you view the framework debate and the solid created me. That's only try rather create new worlds. Next argument that we do not preclude activism to treat. Yes, you do, which would be lame. They say non-reformed reforms are a good example of the TVA. Wrong, because about bottom-up organized, not your model, but all their warrants rely on bodies, not the president, but all their cards are cut out of the context because they're about the grassroots movement, creating the ability for those things to happen in the first place, which proves that musical activity, the Spiller's argument with the blip, but dropped the hyperloop effects are compromised under say solutions like the AOC, who said non-reformers is good, reformers is good, and then went to abolish ISIS and said genocide is good, returns all the arguments. I did not start my time. Where am I at?
422 left.
Perfect. Counterplan.
Wait, 422.
Counterplan dropped FBI as Lewis free, no new answer, because it creates a cycle of corruptivism and violence, which is zero the TVA because it always gets rolled back by Trump, and there's no more for FBI values done for Rick. Ain't new 2 hours man because it'll be late breaking a 2-hour win by to see the car. Now, drop all the warrants and the cobalt evidence that are not just about the TVA of the carbon price being too low. Drop that creates ideological propaganda that blames the consumer. Identifying markets as a problem proves it recreates possibility, but also drop the banal evidence and all the warrants from the carbon price is a colonialist tool to justify green grabbing and colonialist violence in terms of class means that the TVA cannot access it. Even this should be debated out. Colonial is not a debatable issue. You should not play devil's advocate. Next argument is going to be that permutation due to the counterplan solve all our offense. They say it serves out the Phoenix Force opposite now true because our engagement is about bottom up movement that create the conditions for the counterplan solve. Also drop that it creates some sacrifice zones because those fracking sites do not get cleaned up, but the permutation access is better because we understand waste as not waste but rather transform it into space to prove that we solve the terminal net benefit through the permutation solve. They say that and the permutation demonstrates the tasking science is good. Answer the above, but do we also over framework is the compromise side. There's no compromise not clear model debate. Allow for counterinsurgents drop all examples above. They say the counterplan remove fossil fuel companies not solved because they can see the cobalt evidence do not get fiat because they dropped it above. They say sacrifice zones straight to the offense. You make them work, which is the diss at the permutation solve. They say energy agnostic will be answered on case, but we never said that you should not maneuver energy. We said that we should create new energy that is not reliant on black supposability, which proves that all the Mohicans renting is not falsifiable. Next argument that LNG would be hard about fossil fuels, or to drop that Trump does now anyway, and they got solved it. They say they want to specify the price and have debates about that. Wrong, they have not done it in a round, proves that it failed, and they did not get new energy to or take back to the next argument that fossil fuel abolition solve. Our model solves it better, and yours is not. They say for now, debating above, did it above. They say well, fossil fuel fuel, increases violence against indigenous women, drop the increased sacrifice zone. The secrecy decide that they said will be a trick is obviously wrong because their policies bad would be our framework. Now, framework. One, I'll do the black voices out at the top. Their calls for friends are rooted in a PRL line. The CSU for our black argumentation to maintain a style debate that sees black people as hostile, religious surveillance, secret PRL, meaning program destruction and more. To reject their calls for fairness order to compromise white fraternity debate. That's the largest evidence. Also applies to class. They say viewing institution as disposable is wrong and balance is bad. This is racial revisionism. It ignores the long history of PRL logic, which I did above. It proves that balance are good. That'll be later. They say we're not whitewashing framework. They send Jackson non-declared is good during February because it endorses black radical debate that creates disruptive acts and disruptions of anti-blackness. Also, the PRL example proves that they are whitewashing. The competition overturn model stuff. One, balance is the signal you're willing to send against violence from your policy. The concept of education, which is key, will really the battle picks later, but all the answer to the battle later, but also picks a reject team to seal a labor of black people who carries responsibility. Also, Trump cross exam will be damning for them because their model debate is bad because it oversimplified competition to defend Trump to win would prove that those debates do not happen in their model. They say that this counterplan they're not allowed in their model. Drop that we do have this in the counterplan which cross sex as long as you ethically justify them would prove that your model debate is our model debate is key to back up. They said NEG versus reactionary down. Obviously not true because there's no reactionary ground under model because if you drop the case turn counter to end arguments. Fair paradox, there's no fair paradox because the argument I did above. Now, balance would definitely key to incentivize procedure and debate that's rebooting. Oh, balance and that can the community institution or boost the the balance most season we can do the real thing. Everything practice and vision of the community about active policy and debate the community whole team. Mental participation and whether or not there's more religion we get to competition rules on how to debate. And the limit stuff I'll do it now when we meet because we are a Christian that's tied to the core of the topic and we do defend solving climate change through decarbonization. Method one, fuck your limits. Drop our model debate, force the one to engage in the core of the topic about case theory, action, and practice all negate. Also, we do have limits. Drop that app on the form of the core of the topic to MBA, which are market mechanisms that support those that more marginalized. Also, drop that ground away limit, you get case theory, enter arguments. But also drop that over limit because they made the topic small, but only including 3 apps. Also, they dropped that the start of 18 and it literally said citizens can also engage the app with 3 legs with their own limits. Now, I will do the MBA stuff here. One, the MBA is not a resolution argument. It's always not true because we get market approaches. Which better? Now, ground one, no impact. Again, this has counterfeit which I did above. Also, drop our role in NEG. Our role in the NEG is better. Drop the basics like Marxist ecologies versus disability, pessimism, refugee, equal social, cynical, and settler. All kinds of important topics. Also, drop ground above. They say lose to the perm. There's no data for this argument so about KPK debates. Circular flow. Now, TVA one, faster compromises that conceded. Their activism creates a many fracking which roll on down politics once people do in the real world. Still instills Carl's struggle to make blackness way through the world's white services. Also, drop decommissioning sites or some places east of LA proves that Carl's core optimism. They say the alternative solves it definitely does it because it definitely does it because the problem it proves that TVA cannot solve because we have to engage the takes to drop down. Now, the clash stuff and suicide debate, I'll do it here. One, head on the climate politics side, the class A1 rolls around the center of the carbon tech with the equal or the side with ideologically opposed capitalism and teaches debaters to oppose anti-blackness as opposed to anything else. Now, so that suicide debate could mean that even if we suicide under the model, it still teaches gain the market logic, we crowd out critical literature. Also, drop the double consciousness that you force debaters to include the climate change is bad. Now, all the counter difference definitely prove if we get to the core of the topic, our model debate is better because it creates epistemological growth is key because we are decarb stuff and the key to create every class outside Trump politics. That's the light and end of the world of it.
9.
Oh yeah, because it turned off at 12. So they checked out. So you'll have to go to the front desk. They'll turn on your key for a little bit. You'll have to get out your stuff and then you'll be good. You can, I mean, yeah, hang out, or you can watch rounds or whatever you want. Yeah, we're leaving at 4:30. So. Okay. Okay. Bye.
I've lost the passport. Now I'm trying to use this one. Why did you bring my passport?
Yeah.
So please tell me you have another form of ID.
Yeah, someone got camp last year.
It just seems like such a hard thing to lose because it is the most important thing in your life. Especially if you were traveling with it, it just needs to be in one place.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, fine. Let's go. Wait, actually, come on.
Our government's going to be at peak efficiency in reissuing passports, I'm sure.
Wait, topicality, the counterplan, and then the case. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
It's so fun. I'll let you click with that.
Just T.
T counterplan case.
Gotcha.
What? Not really. No. It's thematically nice stuff there. Wait, everyone good?
I don't want that yet. Okay, I'm good.
Wait. CSU entered an impact or debate with zero fucking impact defense. They have dropped every internal link to limits of long granted by wide competition structures activity, which demonstrates this end of your RFD should be creating an equitable and predictable topic for the negative. Competition structures everything. There's no other explanation for switching sides, preps, trophies, deleting end of links, flowing, or coin flips and elims, which are practices we've both engaged in. The desire to win is the primary driver for research, practice, speeches, funding programs, and paying attention to RFDs, which demonstrates any formulation of value within the debate speech, which they've agreed is possible, relies on notion of competitive equity. Limits outweigh a job truancy framing argument that absent specific and nuanced preparation debate is too easy for the AFF because ignoring it preparation around a few generic centrifuges to the quality of flash, the unique benefits of the debate are driven by engagement for the negative, not the body see itself. Novel theories appear only when two competing visions of the world intersect and both sides are well prepared to define their theory. No clash impact defense of the one are none in the two are limits. Turn the case, one thinking 3 and 4. The subside of the opposition is critical to deconstruction, abolition, and decolonization. Our opponents will always be trying to dissuade us through policy interventions and other examples of fascist backlash that they have identified, but only being prepared to debate those examples both on theoretical and praxis level. And this access by interpretation and critical to decolonization. Second, energy policy discussions are necessary for organization, advocating complete understanding of technical questions surrounding transmission, renewables, and fossil fuel infrastructure. Seeds policy to the right who would use fossil fuel hegemony to crack down on the AFF, even if they have uniqueness defense, they do have impact defense, so Triad can only ever be negative. Now, pure logic says that 0 line by line with 1 error, 2 errors, not a recovery speech because the 2 error was predicated off of strategic errors. 1, you should not view ballots as an endorsement or an solution of any particular politics. You should not elevate them to any level beyond adjudicating technical debating, which is our role of the ballot argument. That 1 error functionally accedes to that answers the racial revisionism arguments. We agree that it is bad to pathologize individual grounds as the basis for politics. We all vote for arguments and make arguments that we disagree with. That is good because it allows us to research things from multiplicity of angles and engage with a variety of literature bases. But you should not reject the call for fairness. The Black radical tradition, debate arguments, and Black history month arguments. I will answer them here. 1, it is pathologization. You should not ascribe your ballot to centering any particular politics or radical tradition within the debate. That means when you inevitably vote for arguments you don't believe in, CSU has cast you with the authority to rewrite them out of history, which is not something that an all-white panel should be able to do. That is judge instruction from the 2NC that is dropped. I do not feel the need to reinvent the wheel. Second, you can vote negative for the TVA to solve this argument. Your ballot can signal that you have centered the Black radical tradition within the context of the status quo of politics. Picks bad was a sentence, no link. I don't fucking know what this is. Trump win argument and the world fucked. Group them here. We have a lot of answers. 1, accountability is good. Fascism is accelerating now, but we need to be able to make contingent demands to hold the state accountable. The 1AC Koban evidence cedes to this one. Lists examples of carbon pricing failing as reasons it has not gone far enough, i.e. the price is set too low. Having debates about ways to rectify that gives debaters political skills and agency to both challenge the state by placing demands on it and usurp the state, because they've conceded all of our examples about how transmission, renewable infrastructure, etc. are things that we need to deconstruct in any revolution, so having intimate knowledge of them is key, which I extended into the overview. Second, and straight turns this argument. Second, we straight turn solvency for all of this. Our interpretation solves radical dissonance. It forces the affirmative to engage with institutions, figure out if we can pressure them effectively by doing things like pausing permits, or if it is an insufficient outcome of our season's worth of debates from both sides. B, they do not solve it because they're model center self-survival strategies, which leaders do not have the authority to speak on. What we do in the end of the world is a personal decision. We should discuss how we can prevent that vis-a-vis stopping climate change from killing everyone, which we've agreed is a preventable outcome that occurs on scales and not in inevitability and answers a large variety. They say we have dissents and counterpoints. This was a soundbite non-argument. They've conceded our narrative of how grounded this topic works. It all derives from the market-based signal of the AFF, prompting decarbonization, which allows the negative to get links to energy decides, as well as the host of econ and politics arguments. Ballot key was answered above. They do not meet because the affirmative is not an MPI. It does not place a price signal. It does not meet any of our interpretations. They also don't meet the counter-interpretation. The Smith evidence says they must be core of the topic. The 2NC interpreted this to say that they must lead to decarbonization and changes in the energy mix. The 1 error is no counter-narrative. Technical concession drop, no jurisdiction to vote on the counter-interpretation because there's nothing that the affirmative meets. You all understand this argument, so I'm not re-explaining it. They've also dropped our dissent, so the counter-interpretation is unlimited. It allows too many swaths of critical affirmatives that can no link disadvantages by fiating changes to the broad. Maoism can no link the energy design by saying they remove it holistically or change the economy altogether, so there's no defense. NBA is not a phrase in the resolution, so it's not a basis for the counter-interpretation. Ground that weighs is irrelevant because we control the internal link to it, and the KVK debate examples are all controlled by our offense because limits are key to having an equitable discussion. The hegemonic politics disadvantage is not offense. They have conceded that we can make accountability reforms, and we do not need to win switch debate to win this debate. Now, the counterpoint fiat is illusory, has literally zero implication in your RFD. There was no explanation for the 1 error. It broke my heart to find out that when you voted AFF, the plan didn't actually happen, but I think we all knew that, and we have a bunch of arguments for the skills and procedure regenerate, learning to think 3 or 4 steps ahead, and then competitive equity is good, which accesses all of it. The topical version of that does not need to solve any of their impacts. They've conceded the framing. The fact that they've permuted it demonstrates that it's aligned with the horizon of their politics, and our model of debate can still include theirs, but these debates about things like does it reproduce colonialism, or reparations the best political strategy, are available as negative ground under our interpretation, which means we get to the core of the radical thesis that they are attempting to. Case 1NC1, presumption. A, the 1AC's rhetorical strategy cannot solve research practices in debate. Seems will always negate the 1AC and will just get better at reading Trump code or the energy decides impact from the app. There's no explanation for why that process clash is able to solve the content-specific skills the 2 error overview will describe. B, it cannot solve outside of debate. Phoenix Forces practice has no means to resist Trumpian violence or fossil fuel extraction, and they've conceded that clash solves this impact because we were able to iterate solutions from the past and use them to inform our future practices. 1C2, topicality solves every AFF argument because you can include sonics, defend fiat as time travel, and include all AFF offense about galvanizing grassroots movements. 1C4, non-reformist reform can be not beneficial or come to bottom-up organizing movement side of the 1AC. The permanent clause is a contingent net beneficial win. Under our model, 1AC say that is a demand from abolitionist movements. Or 1C Spiller's evidence answers this Trump and AOC argument by saying it is try or die. The 1 error dropped of the perm to the TPA demonstrates a sequencing question which I explained above.
I forgot. Bro, I told you right now. Oh no, wait, yeah, I remember.
I think like 450 something.
It was 430.
Honestly, 35 cents.
It's just case the counterplan or the TVA in the frame. Alright. Wait, good. Pen. Set.
You are voting after the Phoenix Force temporal disruption of white futurity in order to solve existential climate change and performance of the 1AC and X terms of the past that gathers tactics and tools from lost worlds in order to transfer them to our present, which is creating a grapple with the failures of our past, sonic status component, quantum mechanics of trouble, and back in time to intimate moments care, which is create affective mobilization, drop Louisiana, wobbling to stop oil imperialism, Chicago, and organizers doing a mutual aid and creating black radical ecologies and phase transformations and misnights, environmental training and more that are all forms of after futures and which are all conceded means no presumption. Now, David, you can't vote negative presumption because we have made a departure from the status quo that sonics check back against violence now. It's try or die out. Drop that affect solves are examples that were mobilized through music and affect, which means the vibes of the 1AC galvanizes people to engage in activism and time travel, the ability to bring lost tools, and like the idea of wasting a space which solves environmental racism and climate change into an art broke our heart that you dropped our arguments, which means you should flow them straight through. Now they said we can't solve debate. Yes, we do, because they dropped our examples that KVK debates can happen under our model, that ballots are good. It's a conceded DSRB evidence that solves the ballot peg, makes our supercharges our offense with teams like Louisville, where Damon Love created leaders with beautiful struggle, and also because obviously it's the reason why judges put in their paradigms that wipeout probably isn't a good idea, or mouth this sucks, or why they're reading racism good is obviously bad because of teams like Louisville, which is the DSRB evidence. Now they said Clash solves the case. Definitely not. And I'm going to rant why in a second on why Clash sucks and doesn't solve, and why non-performance reforms are bad. They said Spillers, it was a really blippy, which means that all of our empirics on how disposability happens are going to outweigh. No fiat means that it's pro-optimism, but only a risk of exportability. And our model debate, they said that the permutation is an example of how our model can be compatible. No drop. The permutations are just to test the competition, but only our model can access those things through the internally bottom of moons, which is conceded. Affect stuff on top of the case. Now the TVA is very bad, and it also answered Clash here. Now it's a framing issue for framework. It is the fascist compromise. Does nothing because which is a conceded argument. Does nothing. It does nothing because we had as illusory and that concession allows politicians like AOC to be radical and call for abolition to help black and brown people get outside the sacrifice zones, and then call for more aborto structures and genocide in Palestine. This is a drop argument. I don't want to hear it to a ballot for weight because it makes no sense, which means that their model debate will inevitably be co-opted as a form of politics that recreates black disposability in every instance. And this is a diss at a Clash as well, because since we are winning subject formation is true, it proves that the people they create inevitably result in state-based policymakers who can never fulfill promises and only risk becoming counterinsurgents with causes black disposability, which means that you should embrace our competition, but either way, you should embrace our competition, but either way, all of you should hold calls for fairness and Clash, not hold if you don't buy their model debate solves anything, because voting for Wake would sanction an anti-black model debate that trains anti-black debaters and violence, which would bracket out black people from ever engaging in their model in the first place, because it would only create counterinsurgencies. It's a conceded AOC example that Curtis flagged in the one era, which means that you definitely shouldn't fill in any gaps for them, because filling in gaps for them would be the colonization of the RFD. Now, framework proper. Now I'm going to answer all of their arguments. Now, the 2NR did absolutely no line by line to claim that Curtis dropped a whole bunch of arguments that indeed were not dropped. The 2NR is cold conceded the historical significance about the Reed-Brinkley evidence. There should be a justification for why you should vote for CSU on the impact turn out framework. Balance send a signal that you're willing to stand against Trumpian politics and the concept of education, which answers the big argument, because balance do shape community. Proven by the Louisville Project didn't just debate the way they wanted to do in order to win, but did it because they wanted to make debate a more inclusive, diverse activity that made other people, and they also wanted to read the chaos and fight back against the white supremacist argumentations they did not to win debates at first, which proves no terminal impact of fairness, but also means that competition cannot be the end-all be-all. But framework is a final response to the performance teams like Damon Love, Luis Andrade, and more, who all engage in our model of politics in order to racially exclude them from PRL meetings, FBI, watch this program destruction, and more, which all proves the black waste this. Now dropped the Trump cross-sex example is damning for why their model debate is bad, because it defends Trump to win, which proves that our debates those debates don't happen under our model, but it definitely happens under their model. They'll check their open case list, which means that they definitely create counterinsurgents and black disposability. Now, debate is a competition, but competition is not the end-all be-all, but only our competition is good through a radical stasis point. Now, the conceded DSRB evidence means that you definitely know that a radical stasis point solves all of our offense. Now, limits did not drop limits, but we definitely solve all of their offense, but there's definitely a risk that they make that shit worse. Now, if they include apps that ban any sort of energy, then it means they explode their own limits. This is proven by their 1NC counter definition. The Starvins 98 evidence is literally cold conceded. It says encourage firms and or individuals to undertake pollution control. That means that they link back to all their own limits arguments, which means that it's definitely non-unique. All the work that Gene did above on ground and all that stuff,
equally applies to them, which means that only we have functional limits. Our model forces the teams in the 1AC to affirm the core of the topic, drop the argument that we meet our model because we are criticism that is tied to the core of the topic that engages in decarbonization, because all apps must affirm the core of the topic through MBAs, which is market-based mechanisms that definitely provide some stable negative ground, because they definitely explodes limits. Now, conceded ground outweighs limits. They get case terms, counter methods, ethics arguments, all under a model for KVK debates. Now, Trip, I know you want a case negative, but obviously you should be very skeptical because they definitely exploit those things. But you can think of KVK debates like Psycho Academy, the Capitalism K, etc. All of those things are our arguments about how KVK debates can be generative under our model. And they get dissed as a counterplans, but they just have to justify why reading them is good for people of color and the environment. All these arguments were defense that were not responded to by Wake. Now the ground outweighs limits arguments are already answered above. The light and the world net benefit is dropped. It's try or die for non-state futurist politics as the model for climate engagement because Trump, because of Trump, which means non-state affirmations are good. Otherwise, it compromises our model of politics. Now they said ballots are pathologizing. No, drop to the ballot is key. That was above. They said white panel shouldn't vote in the argument. No, conceded the Jackson evidence that non-white fairness is good, and using the ballot to disrupt cases or black disposability in debate is good. And switch side debate does not solve that answer. The hegemonic climate politics. This how the Clash K1 promotes rounds the center carbon tax versus econ oil. This which ideologically upholds capitalism and anti-blackness. But the AOC stuff also answers that, because when people try to act radical, they then become counter switches that answer switch side debate, because it means that even if we switch sides other than their model, it still teaches us to engage in market logic that crowds out critical literature through extinction outweighs, which means that it solves none of their outcomes.